Good morning, everyone. Great to be back at Wild Digital. This is, I think, Wild Digital 3. And interestingly, our company, Frontier, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute, is about 3 years old. We listed 2 years ago, so we've tracked Wild Digital quite closely. Got 15 minutes, and I want to cover 3 things. Tell you a bit about our business and what we do. Then I want to talk a little bit about why we do it here in Malaysia. So our business today, we don't do business in Malaysia. We base ourselves here and we operate globally, and there's some good reasons why. Then I want to talk about some of the lessons we've learned on this journey. So over the past 3 years, we've grown from 3 or 4 people in a small office in Mid-Valley to now having invested in 20 companies right around the world, all from our office here in KL. So it's been a really interesting journey, but as an investor in online classifieds, there's some interesting things we've learned along the way, which I want to share with you. So we'll get stuck in. This is our business. One slide on our business, what we do. It was a few years ago that when I was running iProperty, and that worked pretty well, myself and Patrick sat down over a coffee and thought, this online classifieds model that has been really successful, it's got to work in more places. So we just decided to form Frontier and give it a crack. It was really the extent of the conversation was not much more than that. So I don't think we regard ourselves as being, we're not a tech company. We're innovative, I guess, in doing something that's been done before, but doing it in more and more places in partnership with more and more entrepreneurs. So our model's quite simple. We look for early stage online classifieds businesses in emerging markets. We've invested in about 20 businesses. We have 15 in our portfolio today. And our premise is really easy. We look in 3 geographic areas, which you can see. So we look in Asia, developed Asia. We look in Central South America. And we look in parts of MENA, so Middle East and North Africa. Really simple premise. What we do is pretty straightforward as well. We find really good entrepreneurs who are running early stage businesses. We invest in those entrepreneurs. We help them run their business, and we help them grow their business. So one of the cool things is that we've been in our little office, less than 2,000 square feet. There's only 10 of us here in KL. We've managed to invest in all of these businesses around the world over the last 3 years. So this is our footprint today. So as you can see, a fair bit in Asia. We have a couple of businesses in Pakistan. We invested very early in Pakistan. A couple of businesses in Myanmar. Again, we've invested very early in Myanmar, Philippines, Vietnam. We're in Central and South America, and we're also in a number of markets in Africa. And the great thing also is that Wild Digital being what it is, we've got a number of our partners who have traveled here today. So I think if there's a prize at the end of the conference for the person who traveled the farthest, I don't know if Ricardo's in the room. Ricardo came from Montevideo in Uruguay. So it took Ricardo 36 hours to get to KL, and he's here for the 2-day conference. So he may actually travel for longer than he's at the conference, but kudos for making it, Ricardo. Also, Wendy and Boris, who run a business in Central America, they traveled here from Panama City. So Wendy and Boris run an online classifieds business there. Got a couple of our Myanmar partners here in the second row, Min Thu, who runs iMyanmar House, #1 property site in Myanmar, and Wayan, who runs CarsDB. And of course, I think Raza and Sunil are here from Packwheel. So we've managed to get a lot of our guys here, which is fantastic. And if you get a chance, try and catch up with them. They're doing some really innovative things in emerging markets in the online classifieds verticals. So primarily property verticals, automotive verticals, doing some really cool, innovative things around facilitating transactions for consumers, helping people find houses internationally. Really cool stuff. Okay. We're also, goes without saying, we're a listed business, so we have to focus on this stuff. We listed on the ASX a couple of years ago, and our focus working with our partners is really just to continue to grow our portfolio. So this is something that other investors will understand, that it's not just a question of going out there and investing, but you actually do have to deliver some results. In the interest of time, I'll skip that. I want to get on to why we do what we do here in Malaysia. So when we started Frontier, again, we're an investment company. We don't do any business here in Malaysia. And when we started it, we actually looked at a number of potential places to run our business around the world. We looked at Dubai, which was an obvious one. We looked at Singapore. We even looked at Paris, which was probably a bit ambitious, but wanted to have it on the list. And we looked, of course, at sort of Melbourne or Sydney. We're listed on the ASX in Australia, so that's nice and close to our investors. And living here in KL, we kind of landed on Kuala Lumpur as a really great place to base your business. And I know MDEC were here yesterday talking about it. We don't have anything to do with MDEC. We kind of just realised this ourselves. So great thing about Malaysia, and when we looked at the other places to base an investment business that looks at tech businesses, it's a very user-friendly place for us to be. It's easy to get around, the weather's great, good infrastructure, and those sorts of things. Probably key for us, I guess, are things like cost and location. So we could base our business here in KL. We could operate globally. It's effective to do so from a cost perspective, but also from a location perspective. From KL, we can be in most places around the world in one flight. So it's a really convenient place to be located. And I think the other thing for us, what we've found has got better and better over the journey, is talent. So, 10 years ago, it was difficult to find people in tech businesses. The ecosystem wasn't that developed. 10 years later, it's got a lot easier. So there's a really large group of talented people who are now based here in KL that have worked in tech businesses, that have worked in classifieds businesses, that are experienced and can come in and be part of your business. So for us, the talent here has got infinitely better over the last few years. And of course, lifestyle. So it's a nice place to live. As I said, the weather's great. You can go on cheap holidays readily, and it's a really convenient place to be. So this is our team. As I said, we run a global business here out of KL. You can see that we've got one or two expats, my big head there in the middle. But, Shen Lo Lim, Jason Tho, Shao, I've all worked with before in tech businesses here in KL. So putting our team together here was actually much easier than I thought. So hence, I just advocate anyone who's come to this conference is running a startup or is thinking about startups. Being based here in KL is a fantastic location. So kudos to this team that we have now. That's 11. That's all we have, and they do an awesome job. As we've been on this journey, just want to share with you half a dozen things that we've learned as investors, investing in emerging markets around the globe, and what it means for hopefully a few of the entrepreneurs who are in the audience, and maybe some other investors who are in the audience. Central to what we do is that the businesses we invest in are very local businesses. Hear a lot today and yesterday about tech companies which have global ambitions, can go multiple markets, have a lot of scale. And I think a lot of people who invested in these kinds of businesses thought that applied to classifieds. And what we know is that it doesn't. So for example, if you're really, really good at something in one country, it doesn't mean that idea is going to work in another country. So they're very local businesses, and our whole investment mandate has been around investing in local entrepreneurs. So we come in and we can provide them with capital, we invest in their business, we can provide them with help. But when we're going into these multiple markets all around the world, the value of having local people who understand local cultures, local bureaucracy, the way to do things locally is, for us, absolutely priceless. Quite different to a lot of other scalable internet businesses is the value of local knowledge in local markets. When I go see Min Thu in Myanmar, I'm going to get what he does. I know the business. I can help him think through some of the challenges, but I have no idea how to deal with Burmese bureaucracy or language or culture, and that's where we think the model we have of partnering with local entrepreneurs is super, super critical for success. And there have been many companies try to do it from one central location in Europe or outside of the markets they want to operate in, and it just doesn't work. So for us, the local element to what we do has been really powerful. Perhaps number one on this list, because these are not in sequence of priority, but is high-quality entrepreneurs. I heard someone say it yesterday, and I'll just reiterate it, that we will take an awesome entrepreneur in a really crappy market every day of the week ahead of a crappy entrepreneur in a really awesome market. We find great people, and it's amazing what they can do in any circumstance. And all of the markets we're in, you saw earlier, are not easy places to start businesses. So when you find A-grade local, I'm getting times up, A-grade local entrepreneurs rather, they're the glue for our business. And some of the qualities that you find in these people, they have a vision for what they're doing. They know where they want to take it. They're solving problems. They're conscientious, they're trustworthy, and we very much view them as partners. And for us, the local entrepreneur is super, super critical to success in our model. I heard Mark Britt quote Game of Thrones yesterday, so I didn't feel so bad that I had a little reference in my deck around, you sort of win or you die in these businesses. I think it was Cersei Lannister. You win or you die. So in classifieds and emerging markets, you really have to be number one. There's no room to be number two or number three or number four. It's really difficult to make a living. So whenever we invest in these businesses, one thing we do know, and it holds really true, is that you should probably pay a bit more and invest in a market leader. Being number one in these markets is, as I said, is just super critical. And if you look at all of the history of classifieds, this is one thing that's held true over the last 25 years, and it continues to hold true. So again, along with local entrepreneurs, find a great local entrepreneur who's running a really good early stage business in an emerging market, and don't think that you can invest in businesses that need to be fixed up. We've tried that, it doesn't work. We're not that good at what we do. So we always look for market leaders. This is the really boring bit of being an entrepreneur. Often we talk, if you have a mental image of an entrepreneur, it's someone dynamic and smart and innovative and risk-taking. And then there's the cliche of a businessman who's kind of boring and wears a suit and just focuses on running the business. This is probably that part of the task for an entrepreneur. Great at strategy, great at vision, want to solve a big problem and want to conquer the world. The boring bit is execution, and one thing we know as we invest in emerging markets is the critical value that execution plays in making these businesses work. And I know there's a number of our partners in the audience who would concur that you get funding, you have a great idea, it's very exciting. It's kind of, what do I do now? Well, I've actually got to run the business and I've got to execute my plan. And it's really difficult, and sometimes it's actually kind of boring, but just critical in terms of the success of the businesses that we've invested in are those entrepreneurs who can have a vision, get the capital, and execute against the plan and build a team around them that can help them do that. So while execution remains kind of boring, it remains super critical. Time is precious. When you think about time, it's the one thing you can't buy, right? So money buys pretty much everything else. Can't buy time. So we always talk to our partners about, evolving really fast. So evolve fast or fail, and make hard decisions and make them. They're never as painful as you think they're going to be. Make tough decisions. If something doesn't work, stop doing it and do something else. At the end of the day, our time is precious, our partner's time is precious, and it's the most valuable thing we can have. So we always encourage our partners to act fast. You're going to make mistakes, but it's okay. Move on and continue to do the next thing. Two more. Entrepreneurs are, by definition, doing startups, and we find that entrepreneurial zest is all about the startup, and we love it. We really value it, and that's what you want. You're investing in early stage businesses. There comes a point at which you can't be a startup forever, and there's this thing called revenue minus expenses equals profit. And we do work with our partners at saying, we want you to act like a startup, we want you to be dynamic, we want you to do all of the things that startups do, but at some point you really have to make sure you're solving a problem, you're creating value, and you have to start generating revenue, because ideally we invest in you to make a profit. It's very hard for us to make a profit if you're not making a profit. So we love the startup mentality, but we do counsel or caution entrepreneurs that at some point we want that to start to create some value. And this goes back to, we don't have all day. Capital is precious, make fast decisions, be in a good market, and act like a startup. The last one, and I think I used the word, resources. I was trying to be kind. I just mean cash, money. So is money finite? And quite often we fund entrepreneurs and the first 6 months is like party time. You got funding, it's great, let's move office, get some t-shirts branded with our name on them and wear them at a conference. But at the end of the day, we all know that, capital is finite, and we love entrepreneurs. And I was talking to Ricardo yesterday, and he brought it up, not me, and he kind of volunteered the fact that, we spend your money like it's ours. And I think when you're an entrepreneur, and the lessons we've learned is that, funding is not forever. Use it wisely and deploy it really effectively. And that's why our model is around investing as a minority partner with entrepreneurs, so they have a lot of skin in the game, and the business is theirs to run, but we want to help them. And I guess entrepreneurs are great at kind of finding a way through. Sometimes a pivot can feel like a flip-flop, can't make up your mind what you want to do, but we encourage them to focus on a big problem, solve it, but please, I would ask all of our partners to spend our money like it's theirs, and I think they generally do. So I'm out of time. Those were the 3 things I wanted to share. It's been great to be back at Wild Digital, and we'll see you through the day.